She's here.
You are breathtaking.
Thank you.
Now, don't stay up and watch scary movies, okay? It'll give you nightmares again.
So what do you want to do? Ricky, why can't you just leave me alone? He's such a jerk.
Don't hang up on me.
What was that?
Oh my God.
Get away from the window.
There's someone there.
Ashley! Are you hiding? I'll find you.
Don't worry, I'll protect you.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Happy Corona holidays, mofo.
This week, we'll be discussing the Christmas horror classic, Better Watch Out, starring, I guess there's a couple Americans. Peter Warburton from Seinfeld and Virginia Madsen, if you're so inclined. But they do not have big roles in this.
They rolled in, they rolled out, the end. Got a check, pieced in the Middle East, especially Warburton.
No question. It's a sad situation. So give us your 30-second synopsis of Better Watch Out.
It's a babysitter movie where it starts getting all jacked up, just people in the windows, people messing around. She's got a boyfriend. Oops, she turns out to be a virgin, so she's safe. And then it turns into a sociopathic kid she's babysitting. It goes.
That was a shocker,
I was
by
like,
the way.
What?
Yes.
And hijinks ensues. It goes to whole levels that you are not anticipating. And
yes.
it ends with a middle finger. And y'all thought you got away, but you didn't, motherfucker. Woo! Merry Christmas to you.
Well, then he says, Mom, I think we should go by the hospital. I'm worried about whatever her name is.
Ashley better.
So it ain't
over.
over.
It ain't over because it could be some whole other kettle of fish. It could be maybe Mom and Dad know what they got. I mean, that's for sure happened before. Where we know Timmy's a sociopath, but like a Dexter, we'll just trade it out.
Right. That's exactly
We'll
right.
teach them how to do it the right way.
Now, had you ever heard of this movie before?
Never. It was on some crazy list of the top 28 horror movies rated from worst to best, and it was like the second best. I was like, all right.
For Christmas.
For Christmas movies.
For Christmas. Yes.
And we've been on a downward roll lately. So this was a great surprise.
It was. I'd never heard of it, didn't know anything about it. And you think it's one kind of movie, and it's a different kind of movie. It's not that movie.
Now, didn't you think the parents were dead? Like he was taking care of them too? Because what was his exit strategy? He was just going to kill everybody and make.
Well, what's interesting to me is I figured out that when they were hiding from the quote-unquote intruder, I figured out that this was part of his plan.
I did write down, I'm like, is this the kids or is this the parents?
Yes.
I had a vibe it was one or the other.
Yes. There was something about it that made it seem not that dangerous. I don't know if it was the music. Something about it made it seem like this is not some terrifying thing that's occurring. Because they're hiding. We should probably tell. So she's babysitting this kid. This kid is in love with her. Yeah, yours are always kind of esoteric and indecipherable.
Enigmatic is the word.
Yes. She's babysitting this kid who's like 5 years younger than her. And he is like in love with her, as many kids are with their hot babysitters, essentially. So he was searching the internet for ways to get her kind of hot and bothered. And one of the things was if you scare somebody, that kind of gets the adrenaline going in a way that's similar to arousal, is what it said.
So is that why guys always want to take chicks to horror movies? I thought
that's why we do it.
It was just because guys just think of themselves and figured they'd be going to a movie they wanted to see. It's not that.
Well, Well, there's that. There's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But he's like, we'll watch scary movies, and then you'll hold my hand, kind of thing. I think it's very innocent, but then the home invasion sort of thing kicks in, and for some reason I'm like, this must be part of the plan, and then it's revealed, oh yes, this is a part of the plan. Oh, okay, so there's no real danger, and then when she gets pissed off, realizing the truth, he comes up and smacks her, and she falls down the stairs.
Yeah, I was like, "What?" I'm like, first of all, honey, they still got guns. You gotta slow that down. You gotta act like it's all cool. We need to go downstairs. Give me the gum, and then lock them in the fucking closet until their parents get home.
Well, and they established that she's been babysitting this kid
years.
for years.
Oh, but she's leaving.
For
she's
years.
leaving to go away to college, so this is his last chance.
This is his last chance. So she falls downstairs, is knocked unconscious, and now she's tied to a chair. So it's no longer fun and games anymore.
It took a left turn. Now, I think part of the reason why I thought either the kids or the parents were involved was that the kid didn't seem that scared. Like, she seemed genuinely freaked out. He was crashing around, making all kinds of sounds. He didn't seem that scared.
Right. None of it seemed particularly scary. I mean, for some reason, even the tone of it didn't seem that scary to me.
Yeah, they were kind of tipping their hat. What's the word? They were kind of tipping us in that it all is not what it seems.
Well, and because earlier they'd kind of made some references to like Home Alone,
right?
And this movie, it's like there's. To a degree, it was kind of like you said, tipping your hat a little bit to Home Alone, because there's like the spider crawling. There's a whole thing that they talked about.
I have never seen Home Alone all the way through.
The first one is quite enjoyable for a holiday season. So check it out.
Of the second one.
Okay, you lost me there.
Is it because
when Donald Trump has a cameo? When he's got a cameo, you got to take a hard pass on
in the 80s in New York without a Donald Trump cameo.
It's a sad situation. So yeah, what we discover is that this sweet innocent kid, he looks like a little angel, is not the sweet little innocent kid anymore. He's basically Damien the Omen at this stage of the game. He is the bad seed through and through. He is the
bad seed through and through, and he's a little too smart. He has the one idiot friend. Every dude has a henchman, a lackey who's always a little dimmer.
Absolutely.
Who always looks up to him. This is his Igor.
Yes. I tell my students all the time, if you're going to be evil, be the evil genius. Don't be the henchman. Don't be the henchman.
Genius.
That's why I keep telling.
Loose the henchman first chance they get. Oh no, he's my best friend. Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the thing. Every time the kid Luke, who's the kid who's being babysitted, starts pushing the envelope, his moron buddy Garrett kind of pushes back briefly. And then is on board. Because what are you going to do?
Honestly, at one point, he told the henchman to leave, and I thought he left. No, he just went there to smoke weed. I would have been getting...
Yes.
If my friend all of a sudden started getting crazy, I would be figuring out how the hell I'm getting out of there.
Oh, no. Well, that was the thing. It's like the initial kind of home invasion thing... I don't want to say it could be chalked up to childhood, exuberance, because it's definitely beyond that.
It's beyond that. It's beyond normal hijinks.
Yes, absolutely. But it's not, there's no crime yet. No one's been hurt. That's the moment he knocks her down the stairs, and then Garrett runs up. Bro, what did you do?
Dead. I was like, holy shit. I thought this was going to be oh my God. I thought this was going to be that mafia movie where Pesci's digging the hole.
Oh, the Goodfellas?
Why couldn't I remember Goodfellas?
It's not, first of all, not the Goodfellas. I don't know why I threw the in there. No, and so he kind of protested. Then it kind of cuts to, so she's waking up from her unconsciousness tied to the chair, and you see Garrett on a scooter scooting through the house.
On Oxy.
It was he gave him a couple of Oxy just to take the edge off. Absolutely. And it's just what is so this is now we're into something. Now we're into something because now it's taken the turn where it's like now it's like sexual assault.
Oh yeah, the
we're playing
12-year-old,
truth or
first of all,
dare.
why does the 12-year-old have a babysitter? So he's obviously manipulating this. Mom, I don't feel comfortable in the house alone. Yada yada yada.
Well, and he sleepwalks allegedly. With the whole pencil on the doorknob.
Yeah,
thing.
that's weird. The sleepwalking thing we find out later is just some story he made up because his friend was there.
Well, yeah, he said he's the Harry Houdini of getting away with it. Is what he later determined. Like he's tricked his parents. What was it? His friend was over fooling around at the house, and to get him out of the house, he pretended to be sleepwalking. Is that what the story was?
The story.
Something like so. His parents are enabling and gullible as hell.
They're dumb as dirt.
Dumb as dirt. And evidently went to the world's longest Christmas party.
I was like, how long is this mofo Christmas party? Come on, Virginia. Come on. Are you really just throwing it back with putty? Come on.
And there was no time where it was like, we need to hurry this up. We need to get this show on the road because my parents are going to be here.
Oh yeah, and then he had a crazy tracker that was like beep beep beeping. Man, I wish I had some trackers back in the day. I'd be tracking kids. I'd be tracking all kinds of folks.
We have that for our kids. Life 360 is what the app is
but the
called.
kids know about that, so they know how to get around it. I want the chip in the head. I want a fob I throw in the bottom of their purse that they don't recognize.
One of those darts that they got jaws with.
You got to watch out because you got some evil genius kids where it.
Oh, no question.
You're going to have to up your game.
No question.
Think apps are going to work.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. But all the while, you're like, how is this kid going to get away with this? Because it's interesting. There's certain things that occur in the movie that he's not bothered by.
He is not bothered by anything at all.
Yes, he is.
Well,
yes, there is. There's little things that happen where he like totally look like when the homie's smoking weed in the other room.
Like he's gonna get in trouble. My parents are gonna smell weed. My
parents
don't give a shit that there's a dead body in the house, but don't smoke weed.
Right.
They'll smell it.
Because he's got the whole plan figured out. It's like if somebody's smoking weed, now it has to be the one dude, Ricky, is the one smoking the weed. Because if it's my idiot buddy Garrett, then I'm going to get in trouble. It's like if you look at it in retrospect, then it all makes sense. When Ricky pees himself, very easily, I might add, he's like, "Oh, I got to use the bathroom," and then just lets it rip right then. Without a moment's hesitation, he flips out then too because that doesn't fall into the narrative. Like, why would Ricky suddenly pee himself? You know, if it's working the way it's supposed to work on his story.
Absolutely.
Basically.
So, yeah, this was all very well planned, premeditated is the word they'll use at the trial. Absolutely. And yeah, you're right. He thinks he's so smart that he is planned for every scenario. But he is fucking 12 years old.
Right. And this is the thing. The moment you realize he can't just explain it away, in retrospect, is when they throw the brick through the window. Because at the end of the evening, there's still going to be a broken window, right? How do you justify that broken window? I can't clean up a broken window. I can't get the window pane repaired.
They could have just said, oh my God, look what happened.
Somebody threw a brick through the window that says you leave, you die. Well, it all works out because it's all like this laid out plan.
I mean, they could have just gotten rid of the brick and put a rock in there, honestly. But that's the difference between our adult, how we're going to cover up the crime versus 12-year-old covering up the crime.
Well, he's like Lex Luthor, basically. It's like everything he does, because they said like they were going to roofie her.
Yes.
So that she would have no memory of it, which I'm not sure that's entirely like it's the Hangover or something, where it's just like, and now I have amnesia.
No, that's what that. You could ask old Bill Cosby, man. It takes away.
They have memories.
The problem is, like an arch villain, he explains his plan. He could have gotten to the end of that bottle of champagne, popped it in there without a word to say. The end. But
because
he's a
it was all his
plan
plan
to let everyone know how smart he is.
for those of you guys at home, that's now the fourth F-bomb that Aaron has
It's
dropped
the
that I have to edit
holiday
out of this show.
season.
It's the holiday season. So no, because his plan was always that she would refuse to do it because Ricky is supposed to come over. It's a whole like elaborate plan. You know what I mean? It's like he was always supposed to get caught that the home invasion was bogus. He just didn't tell anybody that was
All right.
part of the plan.
So
you know what I mean?
Let's
That's-
stop for a moment. Let's stop for a
Please.
moment and let's think. With no interference and nothing going wrong, what was the original plan?
This was the original plan. It was to fake the home invasion in such a haphazard way where the guy Garrett's wearing one of Luke's masks,
Right.
so that she would recognize it and then react.
Yeah, because they
to
made
it
a big
and realize
point in the movie to show the family photo with the weird mask. Who's wearing
Right.
that skiing?
that's exactly right. It's all set up. It basically happened just the way it was supposed to. Only it's like the differences were the weed smoke, the peeing on the floor, and I think that's about it.
Okay.
Frankly. Oh, and Garrett wasn't supposed to be killed. I don't.
No,
think.
he wasn't going to kill Garrett. But so in the perfect.
Whenever he
in the
flipped
perfect-
out, the plan went off the rails.
In the perfect plan, all three were going to die.
Yes, it was always his plan to kill her and to kill Ricky and to kill the ex-boyfriend Jeremy.
Because-
That was all. He's
Just
nuts.
because he's nuts, and this is his last chance.
It was. I think it was like he.
So what would have happened if, like, when he goes to kiss her, that she was? What if she was into it? Would that have changed something, or was that just part of the drama that, like, he didn't know
what?
it was going to happen?
I guess on some level, and we're giving this a lot of forethought here. I think on some level he knew she would never go.
Okay, so this was just a murder plot, just for the sake of getting. Are you unzipping your fly? What's happening there? What do I hear?
Yeah,
Are you
that's
taking
what I do
like
during
a
the
piss
show.
in the middle of the podcast?
Just like Ricky does in the movie.
No,
I just handled my
let's hope
business.
It's not like that. So I get it. So your plan is it was always going to be a triple homicide. Garrett would
Yes.
just roll with it because of all the other murders they've committed and gotten away with, and
Yes.
and then
That's what I
Garrett
think.
Garrett
He only
would have just
killed-
gone home.
Yes. He only shot Garrett, and you could see his reaction to it because Garrett kissed her on the
Right.
cheek. And he'd already told her, "You never touch her. She's mine."
So
kind of thing.
that's what I'm wondering. What if she was always supposed to die?
Yes.
All right.
And that was a shocking moment.
It was.
When he pulls out the knife behind
Dude.
her. Because she's the hero, and you're like,
And
there's
she's
no
the
way.
virgin and everything. So
She's the final girl.
I did put down, knives are the substitute for the penis. So when he did
Okay.
when he did kill her, it did seem like an ejaculation. It did. I swear to you.
Only to
No,
you.
when you
Oh,
look at
there's
his
no way it
face
seemed anything like that.
and he's cutting her. When the knife goes in, he rolls his head back. He closes his eyes.
That's okay. Okay. Moving on.
Am I wrong?
Yes,
or
you're
am I wrong?
I don't want to talk about bodily
Oh my
fluids, but
God.
there was
It-
definitely a
There
reaction.
was a
There was
reaction
definitely-
where
Yes, I would
Thank
stipulate
you.
that. I'm not
Thank
going any
you.
further than
this
that.
is an adult podcast. We should be able to talk about rape as well as murder.
I'd rather
All right,
not.
next movie,
I'll save that for
Deliverance.
another. There you go. Lovely. For New Year's. No, but that was a shocking. I mean, there was a lot of the moment. Like I said, I was patting myself on the back. And I'm like, oh yeah, this home invasion is baloney. I got this movie figured out, and then everything that happens after that just blew me
I
away.
wrote a half a page
Basically.
of notes, and I stopped writing right after we discover that it's all a setup, because then I was like, what?
Yep.
It was so good.
It was great.
I mean, that kid, because he's got this angelic face. He's got like
he's like 12
he's
or
got
something.
the 12-year-old little boy face. We'll probably find out he was only 34 with some kind of weird kidney disease, like they did in the 80s.
Yeah, progeria.
It doesn't have that.
Benjamin
He
Button
has
disease.
Benjamin
Something,
Button disease. He's 65.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, he's handling his business. He's yelling. He's a sadist, but he's still 12
He was
years
great.
old.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like he's dealing with like these guys who like look like they're 25 at least. I mean, grown men. And those are those moments where you're like, maybe this isn't going to work, or maybe they are going to get away, kind of thing. But no, I mean, he had them in their power every second. You know what I mean? When the other ex-boyfriend, this stalker, quote unquote, shows up at the door, and then he deals with him.
Oh, he dealt with him instantly. It was like boom.
Yes. Yes, because that's the whole thing. It was supposed to. He was setting the stage for a murder-suicide.
Right.
That she was in the house with Ricky. The babysitter's in the house with Ricky, her boyfriend, who she's basically kind of dumping because she's moving away. And he flips out and murders them, and then Garrett's there for some reason, murders him too, and then hangs himself. This is what the stage is set. While little innocent Luke is asleep in his bed with shotguns going off. Who is that going to fool, by the way?
I love the fact that they're drugging him to stay in the bed. Have you considered just taking Oxy every night?
I have. Who says I don't already do it?
So, I mean, it's fascinating. But if you think about it, Gareth was going to have to die. He was always going to die.
Because he was kind of the weak link.
He's the weak link. There was no way that Garrett was going to make it through. He was going to he had a conscience. He was just stupid and a lackey, and he looked up to this kid too much. So as he cracked, I mean, he would have cracked at one point. He was already cracking when they killed the first boyfriend with the paint can, that was horrifying, and I'm glad that was off
that was
camera.
rough.
I was so glad that was off camera.
Yes. Well, because they talked earlier how in Home Alone, if you got nailed in the head with a full paint can, it would kill you.
Absolutely.
It would be, absolutely. Because, in Home Alone, you got Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern.
Huge hammer, basically. With
like irons falling on their heads and all.
It's like the Three Stooges. I remember Mom telling me with the Three Stooges, like when she was a kid, kids were always going to the emergency room for hitting their friend in the hammer, poking their eye out with their fingers.
That's what we do.
That's what kids do, because they're idiots.
That's what they do. It's a sad situation. So he hangs Garrett. Not Garrett. What's his name? Jeremy. Throws a noose around Jeremy, has a little tractor, pulls Jeremy up the tree. And I kept thinking, the swing is right there. Couldn't he grab onto the ropes for the swing and pull himself up or something?
I don't know.
Sweet Jesus.
He didn't. If he could have. Maybe he was just that dumb. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. So it was literally, you don't know how he's going to work it. So after everybody is dead, except for Luke, you see him now, he's putting the paint in this kid's hand, putting the gun in his hand, and putting even the pencil they got jabbed in the guy's cheek, puts that in his hand, throws it in there. I'm not like CSI Miami or anything like that, but I'm fairly certain that the cops can tell if you fired a gun there's a test that they can do on your hands.
Now, do they do that?
There's
every
gunpowder.
time? Or is this just such a slam dunk that they wouldn't even bother? It's like, stuff them in a sack and call it a day.
That is a question.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know.
Would they, if it's so, like in Minority Report, they call it like an orgy of evidence, where it's just so much evidence pointing in one direction. Do you even? Although, again, I mean, I guess you would say, like, well, they drugged him. And that's why he was in bed asleep and slept through all the carnage down below. That's what
He's supposed to take this pill to knock him out so he doesn't sleepwalk.
Right.
So we're supposed to understand. But of course, he just took it like 5 minutes before the bus. So he would have been super sedated.
Yes. Interesting. So you think he's getting away with it. He's like, oh, Mom. She's like, oh, it's okay, baby, kind of thing. And then they discover, we got one survivor.
And everybody's like,
oh. Because they were saying duct tape. It has so many uses. And then she took the duct tape, because he stabbed her in the throat.
Right.
She took a piece of duct tape.
And patched herself up.
Now, one thing I will say is this movie's not gruesome.
Yeah.
They don't really show you anything. You see some blood here and there.
I mean, that's the beauty of some of these things, like Reservoir Dog. You don't see them cutting that dude's ear off, but because you don't, it's even more disturbing because your sick mind makes up for the fact.
Well, I think there's something to be said. If a movie is too gruesome, then you're kind of alienating half the audience.
Well, and we're dealing with minors, so how gruesome is this?
Yeah, that may be true.
So, I mean, but you can't necessarily put a 5-year-old and then have the child watch people being stabbed. There's probably some kind of child actor laws, maybe.
Well, it's possible. I mean, I don't know how old. This movie came out in 2016. How old would Luke have been in 2016?
I don't know when he was born.
He was 14 in 2016, or he turned 14. So,
high school. He's a little freshman.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is.
It was solid. It was solid.
It was great. I was very impressed by it. Shall we go behind the scenes, or isn't that
I'm
much?
Guessing.
Actually?
I mean, what scandal does a 14-year-old have?
There's no scandals. But like I said, they reference Home Alone a lot. And actually the tagline is, you may be home, but you're not alone.
You may be home, but you're not alone. Because I think one of the reasons I never really saw Home Alone is because it was just, well, one, it was stupid. And two,
how do you know
because
that?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. And all of that, I mean, someone's gonna die if you try to redo Home Alone, as we learned in this here film.
Well, it's meant because it's played for jokes and for laughs. It's like slapstick. It's like cartoony.
Slap with a stick is what is more like.
That's basically what it is. Well, it's basically kind of a comedy almost early on. It has weird comedic aspects, and then it's like serious. Like the whole opening scene where you meet, like she's babysitting and you meet her parent or the baby. What am I trying to say? The parents of the kid
like
they're
a mini
babysitting.
Stroke? What's happening?
Multiple mini strokes. The stage of the game. They're kind of played for like laughs.
Oh, the parents.
Frankly, Virginia Madsen and Putty are played for laughs.
You can't
so it's hard to get
seriously.
A beat on. You cannot. It's a sad situation.
But I will tell you, when the boys are in their room together and they're talking some graphic shit, and it's more like what you would expect from maybe a Porky's, more adult, especially because imagine these kids are like 6th graders.
Well, what's interesting is they're having those conversations, but they aren't nearly as graphic in the beginning of the movie as they become when she's tied to a chair. The moment she's tied to a chair, then it's like a totally different script comes out for those kids. Okay. There's 7 key cast members, and with the exceptions of the 2 actors everybody else is Australian.
Okay.
Everybody else Australian. They filmed this movie in Australia.
Interesting.
Because, yes, the original writers and directors are American, and they only got like a $500,000 deal to film it in the United States. And an Australian producer said, I'll give you $2 million if you film it in Australia.
So I don't even know. I mean, Virginia Madsen and Putty. I mean, you couldn't.
Are the Americans?
I mean, why do we even need them? They're not a draw. I mean, teenagers go to not that they're not fine actors. Teenagers go to horror movies. There's not going to be a 15 who goes, "Oh, dude, Virginia Madsen's in this new horror movie. Let's go check it out."
Unless it's Candyman 2.
Candyman 2. That's true.
That I'm in.
I forgot about
That
that.
I'm in. Yes. No, I think they are there just to kind of place it in the United States.
Okay.
You don't know any of the other I mean, I'm guessing. That would be my theory. Like, they're in it so you know, oh, we know these people. We're familiar with their work. You know what I mean? Rather than a bunch of unknowns. Was that the freshman saying that or the junior saying that? Because that's a good question.
It's all high. I've been to these horror movies on opening weekend where I am the grandmother of every other person there.
That there could be no doubt. It's a sad situation. No, I mean, I'm not saying it's a draw per se, but it's like you didn't even know that they were all Australian.
No, and they did a good job hiding the accents.
They did. Their accents were
It was no Kevin Costner bullshit, I'll tell you that. It was outstanding, because Australian is a crazy-ass accent. It always slips in.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's kind of like if you watch Lethal Weapon with Mel Gibson.
He slips up.
Mel Gibson's accent comes in and out all the time. But because you're right, it's hard. But I don't know if just generic American's a little more easy. Who's to say? Who's to say? One way you can tell it's filmed in Australia, and let's see if you notice this. All of the doorknobs are much higher.
Come on.
In this
Did
house.
you notice
Go back
that?
and watch it. Yes.
Why would they be higher?
It's an Australian thing.
Are they taller?
I don't know.
Are they the master race? I thought it was us.
Could be. It's weird. It's like they're almost up at like shoulder height when you're opening the doors. And it kind of,
you know what? That's like European, where because you're turning the lock and that opens the door. You turn it and hold it and opens the door. Now I can't even remember. Like I was looking at the frickin' doorknobs.
Right. Well, the director, again, who's an American, found it wildly distracting. But they didn't have the budget to go and like replace all the doorknobs.
We're gonna reshoot this back in Hollywood.
That's exactly right. It's a sad situation. I'm trying to think. Selena Gomez was originally supposed to be in this movie, but decided to focus on her music career. As the babysitter.
The mother?
Yeah. Yes. That's exactly right. Let's see. I think that's about it. There ain't much. The girl who played Ashley the babysitter and Garrett the next door neighbor,
looked familiar. Do I know him?
They were the children from The Visitors. If you ever saw that movie, they played brother and sister in that movie.
Visitors. Is that the redo of The Body Snatcher?
Oh, excuse me, not The Visitors. The Visit. That's an M. Night Shyamalan movie where they go visit the grandparents.
Wait a minute. I think I saw that one.
Wait a minute.
I keep giving M. Night a chance, and he never fails to let me down.
Because you're wrong. I don't know why I called it The Visitor. The Visitor sounds like it's an alien movie. It's The Visit with the crazy
grandparents. Right.
That's
right. But it's not the grandparents. It's not really their grandparents.
Spoiler alert. This isn't The Visit
Maybe
podcast.
We need to do that movie next.
What delusional infant thinks a break-in is going to get you to second base?
That's a classic line. Thank you. She was coming hard, man. She was like, I'm not doing it.
She was great.
She is my hero. She's my new spirit animal. She was no victim. That's what I liked about this. She was like...
Not at all.
I'm not calling it.
That was number 5.
Right on. She's a badass. And if he comes and tries to... Well, I mean, look at it this way. So there's the veiled threat at the end. Mommy, we need to go see her in the hospital. She's telling her story right now. He ain't visiting nobody in the hospital. I'd be like, that little motherfucker tried to kill me. Get the police, write it down, phone a friend. Yeah,
That's
he
right.
ain't making
Do what you got
any
to do.
visits.
Okay, let's talk about the ratings. On Rotten Tomatoes, it currently has an 89% certified
That's pretty
fresh.
solid.
Solid. I think this is one of the best new horror movies that I've seen in quite a while. Ain't no lie.
Would agree.
You don't know where it's going, where it's taking you. Every shot was a surprise. I'll tell you what.
I absolutely agree. It took such a hard left turn. I was like, what?
What? Because the casting was great. Because you can't early on, you can't really even envision this kid behaving in this way. And then 5 minutes later, you're like, oh yeah, he's the one. He's the evil Home Alone kid, basically.
He is the bad seed. He's going to eat your
He's Jeffrey Dahmer.
liver with a nice Chianti or a cheap bottle of champagne. Oh yeah.
What is your rating for this movie?
My Lord.
For God's sake.
I am going to give this outstanding, solid movie 5 paint cans to the ass.
That doesn't happen in this movie. There's no paint cans to the ass. There is something that's paint can to the head. And
I didn't like exploding
which you don't
heads,
see.
But, oh my God. Fantastic. Do not
Fantastic. I'd give it...
Take
Go
off
see
your
it.
mask.
It's free on Amazon Prime right now.
Breathe the corona fog and get over to your local Blockbuster and rent this.
Okay. No Blockbusters anymore. You can just see it.
Don't give Jeff
Save the
Bezos
safety of
any
your own
goddamn more money. I think we saw it on, what was it, Tubi or Pluto? Or I saw it with commercials. That's how cheap it was. Yes,
Oh, did you?
I did Tubi or something.
Pluto TV, I think was what it was on. I would give it 5 out of 5 pencils through the cheek. That was a good one.
5 out of
good
5
times.
roofies, 5 out of 5 getting high in the mom's living room when the babysitter's not looking. Across the board.
You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. And like I said, if you've listened to this podcast, you already know all the secrets of it. But like I said, it is surprising. It is everything you'd hope it would be without being gratuitously, horrendously grotesque.
It is violent, and it's you're like, whoa! There's a body count.
Yep.
There's no nudity.
No nudity.
But it is surprising. And at first I was like, oh yeah, I got this shit figured out. You're not going to M. Night Shyamalan me. And then it was like, what?
Right. You Shyamalan me. You Shyamalan me. How could you? In a good way, though. Usually a Shyamalan situation. Exactly. You're like, what
exactly. Like, did you see the movie, speaking of Shyamalan, did you see The Happening?
Never saw that.
Within 15 minutes, I'm like, it's nature. And then it was with Wahlberg was in it. I was like, oh Jesus! Now I gotta sit through all that. Why don't they serve beer at the thing? I could at least take a nap.
Yeah. Well, it used to be, and I'm sure I've said this before. It used to be like from the mind of M. Night Shyamalan. It used to be like that was a good thing, and then eventually it became
it's a trigger
like,
warning.
We're not right. They're like, we're not even going to tell you he directed this one.
I keep
director uncredited.
I want him to succeed, but he doesn't only have to do the hook, man. He can try just making it straight.
The trick.
Just you got it, man. You're just hung up because The Sixth Sense was so good.
Right. So now there always has to be a trick.
Just make a good movie, get a good script, and make a good movie. It doesn't have to have a hook, and then you'll be back on top, brother. Call me up.
Do you know what's interesting?
I'll read a script for you. I'll give you advice. I'm the American public.
I remember. Did you ever see The Village?
I nailed that right away too.
The original premise for The Village, I thought was really interesting idea. Like, it wasn't the old Salem witch trials period of time kind of thing. Early America, and there's creatures in the woods. I thought that sounded great. The switch.
Yeah. Then you're like, I was
Killed it.
like,
What?
oh.
You killed it. The moment you figure out there isn't really a creature in the woods, you're just
You
like,
know what? Some things are meant to be short stories, and some things are meant to be movies. And sometimes you can take a short story and use that for a kernel, but not in that case.
a kernel. For the record, M. Night not involved with this movie. So don't feel
But if he
put off by that.
should have been very proud of himself. Did this
That
director
is true.
do anything else that we know? Is he a one-shot
Let me
wonder?
see.
He had a
let me
crazy
find
name,
out
so
for you.
I thought maybe it was a goof name.
Director Chris Peckover. Yep. He's only directed 3 things.
What are they? Are they all like weird Australian soap operas or what?
Better Watch Out was the last thing he directed in 2016. He directed something called Undocumented in 2010 and something called Alive and Well in 2007.
All right, don't know.
He hasn't done much. Let me look at writers. Not much.
It was
Ain't much
solid.
here. Yeah, it's a sad
Get on
situation.
it. Call M. Night Shyamalan. Maybe you can collaborate. And call me too, because I'll help you hammer it out.
I mean, clearly this was not a huge hit, but because I'd never even heard.
But that
Never.
happens though. Remember, we
Yes.
didn't really hear the Babadook. Did you?
Well, I'd heard of it.
But I didn't
heard
know
of it, but I'd
anyone
never
who
seen
saw it. I don't remember any kind of a buzz or anything. And that was knocked
The Babadook.
The Babadook knocked my socks off too. We've
It was
seen
good
some
stuff.
real good ones, but mostly we've seen a lot of shit.
A lot of crap.
A lot of shit
So there you-
sandwiches here.
So there you have it. Thank you very much. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcast, TWDie. Email us at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, etc., etc., etc. And Aaron, you are on social media.
I am on the Twitski as the Cult of Aaron. I am on the Insta as the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult.
And you need to start pushing our show on your Insta. Damn it.
No, my Instagram
it.
is pure. It's just art, and I kick out anyone who puts anything else on there.
This is also
I don't want to
art.
see your ugly
Damn
baby 20 times a day. You're on notice.
Your ugly baby. It's alive.
That was it. It's alive, baby. Maybe you got something going on there. If you
Was
got,
it the
if you got a
bat?
Benjamin Button baby, then you have a right to post it. If you have Bat baby, Spider baby,
That's right.
anything
Oh, sweet
interesting,
Lord.
that's fine.
Why
Just
not?
don't be boring. That's my rule if you're going to be on my Insta.
That's a good rule of life.
Don't
frankly.
be boring.
So there you have it. Thank you very much, and be well.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy what solstice, you pagans, whatever.